Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. The way we talk about a problem reflects the way we think about it, and thus it can also affect the way we feel about it. And more than that, the words we use to describe a problem also affect how we approach it, whether we approach it, and even whether we ultimately solve it. That's why it's crucial when we talk about estrangement from adult children that we choose our words carefully. One of the most potentially damaging habit patterns for parents is in the language they use to describe the estrangement and the behavior of their adult children. When I hear parents use words like vicious, cruel, or nasty to describe their own children, what I feel is the pain and powerlessness and abject misery of that parent. And those are understandable feelings. There's nothing wrong with having those feelings. The only problem is when emotion controls the narrative. And emotions will do that through the language we unconsciously choose. By labeling your child's behavior controlling, for example, your brain begins to focus on the objectively debatable fact of her power over you, rather than the fear, uncertainty, or anxiety that may underlie her behavior. I want to say this again because it went by fairly quickly right at the top of this episode. The way we talk about a problem reflects the way we think about it, which can and does directly affect the way we feel. And our feelings can dictate what we believe we're able to do about the problem. If we feel overwhelmed, our emotions tell us it's because the problem is too big to be solved. It's too complicated. It's beyond our capabilities. This is how estrangement feels to many unwillingly estranged parents. And the way you talk about your estrangement will either reinforce a sense of overwhelm or challenge it and allow you to take constructive action and make positive changes. Whenever you talk about what's going on with your child, follow these guidelines to protect yourself from damaging beliefs, unnecessary pain, and a false sense of powerlessness. Number 1, use adjectives to describe your feelings, not your child's behavior. Instead of labeling his behavior mean or selfish, for example, you might say that you feel hurt or confused by what he's doing. These words are about your experience, not his motives or morals. This brings down the temperature of the conflict and preserves accuracy. You know for certain how you feel, but you may be able to say very little about your child's experience with any certainty. Describing yourself as hurt instead of your child as mean also reminds you that you want to connect and bond with this person. Why would you want to be closer to someone who's being mean to you? So number 1 is to describe your feelings, not your child's behavior. Number 2, speak about the estrangement as a temporary state that your relationship is in. When you say, "My child isn't talking to me," add the words, "right now," or "at the moment." It's a subtle reminder that this too shall pass. Number 3, remind yourself of your agency whenever you speak. If you say your child has gone radio silent, you might want to add, "and I'm giving her space so she can figure this out." You're more than a passive blob waiting for something to happen. Speak about the part you're playing. I'm working on understanding how we got here. I'm giving my child some time to miss me. I'm focusing on healing from childhood trauma while I have this time to focus on myself. Speak to remind yourself of your ability to choose your response to whatever happens in life. Number 4, speak only well of your estranged adult child or children. Always. You never know how or when something you say will make its way back to them. You might say, I know she's doing what she needs to do, or I miss him, but I respect his right to step away for the time being. Be consistent in verbally defending your child or children against any attacks on their character or sanity. Not only might your support reach their ears, more importantly, it will remind you of your own beautiful capacity for love and forgiveness. Rather than cementing an unhappy state of affairs in place, your words will create space for a better relationship. Choosing your words carefully won't protect you against sadness, frustration, anger, or any of the other difficult feelings that come with an unwanted estrangement. But choosing words that carry self-expression, that celebrate the temporary nature of pain and challenge, choosing words that acknowledge your own power and affirm your adult child's freedom and goodness, choosing language like this will change the way you approach the problem of estrangement and make you more able to solve it. Instead of frightening yourself with your own words, instead of inspiring dislike or a lack of trust in your child, instead of willingly speaking a downward spiral of despair into existence, remember those 4 guidelines every time you speak or write about this estrangement. 1. Speak about how you feel, not what your adult child is doing to you. 2. Speak as if this estrangement were temporary, because statistically speaking, it probably is. 3. Remind yourself of your power to choose your response to estrangement. And 4. Don't speak ill of your estranged adult child, no matter how much you're hurting. When it comes to telling others about your child's estrangement, it's entirely up to you whether you choose to share the information, and if so, with whom and when and how much. You may feel vulnerable telling anyone that your adult child or children are estranged. You might worry that people will judge you for that. But as the person standing there and speaking about the estrangement, if you decide to, you have more control than anyone else over the impression you make on someone else. People will judge you by the positive, understanding, and loving way you speak about your estranged adult child or children, not the fact that they're absent right now. And who knows, the person you tell may be in the same position themselves and admire your patience and grace. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult child or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult child or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.